Okay, here we are at Serverless Days Belgrade, talking with Kass from Cloudflare. Before we start, I want to say that I'm impressed with the way Cloudflare innovates. Always something new, different from these cloud providers, just copying each other. And your talk was about WebAssembly.
Yes, partly, yes.
Partly, okay. So just please introduce yourself and the company and tell us about WebAssembly.
Yeah, so I'm Kass. I'm a developer advocate, at Cloudflare. And today's talk was about WebAssembly V8 and the future of serverless. So I talked about the case study of building our serverless platform from the ground up to be different, to not use containers, to use V8 isolates. So I talked a little bit about V8, a little bit about WebAssembly, and how it all wrapped up to be this serverless provider that's really pushing the boundaries.
Cloudflare has a CDN here in Belgrade, so
yep.
it's a great thing for us. I mean, one of the first to have that. You were talking about developing at the edge.
Yes.
So that's a whole different way of thinking that we have.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that a bit? Because what can you do with that? What could be some cool case just for a large scale?
So you can do location-based. You can actually access what data center you're at, and you can say, if I'm at one of these data centers, show this, or if I'm one of these data centers, show that. So if you're in Europe, you could show something different from if you're in the Americas. And the main thing that it gives you is latency decrease, because our 180 data centers are going to be physically closer to your users, which is one of the best ways to reduce latency. And you don't have to say, I want to deploy to this data center, in order to make sure you have full coverage, because the way Cloudflare works is we just assume your workers run on all data centers.
Yeah.
And so whenever someone makes a request, it goes to the closest data center automatically, instead of you having to do these like magical deploys or anything like that.
So how do you feel this WebAssembly thing is developing? Is it going in a great direction? Because 10 years ago, we had Java with some kind of same idea of getting everywhere, but with browser, we got nowhere.
Yes.
And what do you see? Is there anything stopping WebAssembly for?
No, I think we've learned from the past the WebAssembly specification, because you don't have to install anything other than your browser in order to run it, and it's in over 87% of working browsers, so almost 90% browser saturation for users. And because they don't have to install anything extra in order to run it, I think that's a key hurdle that WebAssembly has jumped over Java, because you don't have to install the Java runtime on your machine. The only things you need are your browser. And so I think that's one of the huge hurdles that WebAssembly's come over, and I think that's one of the reasons WebAssembly just won't be stopped, is it's saturated in the browser and it's baked in. So you don't have to install anything else, and you don't have to worry about external dependencies messing up or firewall blocked or things like that.
So I saw some other examples for in Rust, and obviously Rust is a preferred language for someone who wants to go deeper, closer to assembly languages, or it's just a kind of idea that should go there with Rust. You should just skip C++ or I don't know.
I think you should program with what you're comfortable with, but I also definitely advocate for learning Rust. I've been learning it over the past few months, and every time I find a new feature, I think, wow, this was really well thought out. So I think Rust is a great language to learn, but the best part about WebAssembly is you work in what language works for you, and then you compile to the WebAssembly runtime. So you don't have to really worry about what language do I need to know. You probably already know a language that compiles down to WebAssembly.
So you would not say that there's any preferred language to go JavaScript or
not for WebAssembly in the browser, no. Yeah. For WebAssembly on workers, we only support Rust because of runtime size. So we only allow 1 megabyte uploads, and Rust and one other language that it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember which, is compatible with a smaller than 1 megabyte runtime.
Okay. We should not write anything larger than 1 megabyte anyway.
Oh yeah, that's true, because your users will be the ones to suffer for that. Yeah.
It was a great time and a great presentation. Thank you very much for your time. See you.
Thank you.